Here we are, YouTube, 20 minutes from a government shutdown. And I'm pretty okay with it. I think the government's bigger than its britches. Hasn't listened to its constituents in 40 years, maybe only a few years during the Reagan years. You know, there was a lot of debate and stuff then. It warms my heart to see Nancy Pelosi almost in tears, crying over all the mess that her and the Obama administration, and she keeps blaming it on the Tea Party members. And I'm a Tea Party member. I went to the Tea Party in 2009 when they said 50,000 people went to D.C., when it was more like 1.2 million, maybe 1.5 million. And from all over, people like me, people like my neighbors, people that don't really have a voice but have found a voice because of the Tea Party. They really don't want to know what the people really want to do to Congress and the Washington bureaucrats that dance around the thing and say it's everybody else's fault but their own. But it's their own fault. You know, when you spend, how much you spend? $7 trillion in 5 years. And in 300 and some years prior, or 287 years prior, from George Washington to George Bush Jr., which, you know, he was a okay president, but he wasn't the best. And he started this whole bullshit. But Obama's only taking the ball. He said the Republicans ran it into a ditch, the country into a ditch. Well, he's not only backed it out, he ran it off a cliff and blew it up because government shutdown don't mean nothing to me. Probably doesn't mean nothing to you either, unless you're a federal employee. And I think that this is my opinion, I think every non-essential government agency, state, local, and federal, should be shut down until they think about where they're getting the money to pay for it. So if you take in $700 million a month in taxes, but you're spending $1 billion a month, you're going in the red every month, $300 million. And that's just a ballpark. I mean, the numbers are up and down. It's crazy. You see these people in there and they're all clamoring at the last minute, and then they knew that this was going on. The president's mad because they won't raise his credit card limit when we're already in debt way beyond our means. And I'll just give everybody a little example of truly how much in debt we are. There's 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 36 years. What do you think 1 trillion seconds is? And at this point in time, no matter if the government taxed my check and everybody else's check 75 or 80%, we still would never pay our debt off. Ever. Never. There's no way. So how do they think that raising our taxes, forcing us into Obamacare, taxing me because I don't want health care, I don't want the government health care because I just know what a fiasco that's going to be. What do they think people like me and my neighbors and people in my town and my state are thinking? They think I'm going to give them more money? You know what I want? Do you really know what I think should happen? And this is to all you rich people out there who can pay taxes and do pay millions of dollars in taxes. They really want to know that we, the people, run this country and they don't. Cut off their tax money for 6 months. Cut off the $700 million they're getting a month in our taxes. Don't give it to them. You know, it's like a kid. You give him a gas card and you say you can spend $50 a month. Well, he comes back and spends $200, and then he wants you to raise the limit on the card. What would you do if you were the parent? You were the overseer of that finances. you would say, no, give me the card. You'd cut it up and you say, you know what? You go get a job and you go pay your own way. That's what I think the government should do. We, the people, have been taking care of the 47% that don't pay taxes for about 35 to 45 years. And it's only turned from a helping hand into a lifestyle, which is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. When you got on the books and you can prove that a family started on welfare in 1971, 2 generations later, 30-year-old people of the same family, 2 generations now, are still on welfare, that's telling me that welfare doesn't work the way they use it. And yes, I'm watching C-SPAN right now in the background because I like seeing the Democrats squirm. You, Steny Hoyer from Maryland, where I used to be from, you're an asshole. Nancy Pelosi, you're the biggest lying sack of shit I ever seen in my life. And I could go on and on and on and on about the people that I know, literally, from living in that state and knowing what they're doing. And now you don't even want to know what the gun laws are changing to be in Maryland if you're a gun owner. And I heard some news today from a fellow gun owner that lives in Maryland still. And I'm so glad I don't live there no more. I couldn't tell you how glad I am that I don't live there no more. But this isn't about guns. This is about the government shutdown, the taxes. What do you think Tea Party means? Taxed enough already. Why did we fight the first revolution? Taxation without representation. Well, we're being taxed to death. Where sooner or later, either the government's going to have to be reset, start all over again, which we can do with a recall vote. Kind of like the way they did in Colorado, which is kudos to the people in Colorado for ousting the people that weren't listening to their constituents. But the healthcare law is completely and utterly, I don't care what the Supreme Court says, is unconstitutional. I know people that live in Canada, and they tell me their healthcare system sucks so bad. And I know people that live in England, and they say the same damn thing. And I'm just glad that my grandparents are already dead, so they can't be killed by the death panels with the healthcare law. And the gun owners still don't know what's in that 2,700 pages of regulations that they're bringing out. And the president thinks we're stupid and that we're not going to fight for our rights and that we're going to just lay down and die and become one of his Obamanites. This is not the United States of America anymore. It's the divided states of Obama. And he brought it all on himself with the lack of knowledge of the voters who put him in and the lack of the people who give a shit about our government and say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm just one person. The Constitution says we the people, not we the government. And all those Bill of Rights we have were put there so we could protect ourselves from what's going on right now as I sit here and talk to you and I'm watching C-SPAN and they're bitching and moaning about this and that. No, I think the Tea Party members that are in Congress and the Senate should stand up, stick to grounds. Don't let them muscle you and make you feel bad because you know what? I don't feel bad. I'm proud to be a Tea Party member and I'm proud to be an American. And I will not see it cave to a person that was with a bought election, Obama, and all of his little cronies who want to take away everybody's rights even though they know they're wrong and they want to make it look like we're the bad guys. If we were the bad guys, the Tea Party would have showed up in Washington armed, not with flags, and they would have taken what they wanted, especially back years ago. But, you know, let's hope it don't come to that, because nobody wants to see another civil war in this country. They really don't. Because we don't have muskets anymore and single action army Colts. But yeah, I think that the government should be shut down for a while. And I think that once people really realize, and they're starting to realize, you know, there's 300 and so million Americans. There's 100 and something million armed Americans. That's probably the largest standing army in the world, even more than the Chinese. So I don't think that they want to push the envelope too much. They might want to dance around it and say we're all a bunch of nut jobs or whatever, but we all read the Constitution. I was taught from a school that was one of the best in the nation when I went to school, until it burned down in 1995. But we know our rights. We know what we can and can't do. And we know that the government has been manipulating us for years. And years, and years, and years, and years. And I think everybody's about fed up to about right here. And if something don't happen and something don't give, I personally think Obama should be impeached. Using the IRS to fucking go after your political opponents, which is the Tea Party and the Libertarians and the Constitutionalists. Letting people die in Benghazi and not giving a proper explanation of what happened. It was no fucking riot that went awry. It was a coordinated, planned attack, and Americans died. And that man's still sitting in the White House, proud as a peacock, thinking he did nothing wrong. Oh, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't there. That's bullshit. And then, trying to force all this healthcare stuff down our throats, when our system might have been flawed and broken